right. So I first of all want to, kick it off. I'm Justin Marti with Marti Law Group, and this is Office Hours, which, we like to do once a month with a very special guest. And our firm at MLG, we specialize in healthcare transactions, really a lot of M&A and compliance work, particularly in the med spa world, medical aesthetic space. Through that, I got to meet Rebecca Axtell of Well Labs Plus, the Chief Development Officer. And it turns out she's a fellow Yukon Husky, so she won me over with that. But Well Labs has been amazing to work with. Rebecca has been amazing to work with. We've done a number of transactions now together where we'll represent a client who might be partnering with Well Labs. So first of all, Rebecca, I'll kind of, give you a chance to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about Well Labs, and thank you again for bearing with me during the technical difficulties here.
All good. Glad we made it work.
Awesome. Awesome.
Well, thanks for having me. My name is Rebecca Axtell, like Justin said. I'm the Chief Development Officer at Well Labs Plus. Well Labs Plus is a growing med spa platform. My role here is I have the best job in the organization. I like to taunt my peers, but my job here is to identify good partnership opportunities as well as we build our platform and get to know these incredible owners, as well as connect with peers in the industry and see if there's opportunity for additional synergies as we grow. I have 20 years in the dermatology and aesthetics industry of experience across multiple startups. So a lot of experience building quality assets and teams. Most notably, and what's relevant for my role here at Well Labs is as a founding member of the Galderma Strategic Accounts team. And more recently, I led the business development for a dermatology pharmacy group, one of the leading pharmacy groups in the country. I was there for 5 years. So I joined Well Labs 2 years ago. I was employee number 2 right after our CEO and founder, lucky me.
Nice.
And her and I, Ritu Gupta and I, started this journey 2 years ago in 1 week. And we've been on this journey together ever since. And it's been a really, really exciting ride. So without further ado, I'll explain a little bit about what Well Labs Plus is for those of you who don't know, but we are an active and growing med spa platform. We have 14 locations, soon to be 20 within the next 60 days in 6 states, and we are achieving double-digit year-over-year growth within the platform. So we're really proud of what we're building. We are rather unique as med spa platforms go. We're one of the very few women-led platforms. Justin, I think you and your team have enough experience in the category in the last few years to know that that's rare.
Yep, absolutely.
What's really important and even more important to us is that Ritu and I both come from the category with experience in well-known groups such as Ideal Image and Galderma.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's really resonated with owners. As you know, this is a really different industry and a really different space, and it's something that's really personal to owners. So it's something that we pride ourselves on and something that I think we've brought a lot to the conversations and the dialogue, and I think owners have really felt that. I think one of the other things that we really like to highlight is our family office investor profile, which we like to call a kinder, gentler capital, more so than your traditional private equity. And this is another thing that has been enlightening to owners. And if you talk to any of our current partners, I think they've really felt that difference. So our goal for the platform is to partner with med spa owners who are looking for a supportive partner and network to continue their growth with, all while preserving the local culture and brand that they've built. And that's what's led to their clinic success. So with that local mentality, through our platform, though, we can still offer them the benefits of scale that, frankly, owners will need in time as the space continues to grow. And that's things like reduction in cost of goods and staffing support and centralizing some of the administrative burden and marketing services. So, but really, most importantly for us, it's about creating this community that in our industry is so hard to find. So we are growing 2 years later. We're doing it, and it's exciting to talk to you today. I do want to take the opportunity to say thank you for everybody who's attending tonight and listening in even after the fact. Kudos to you for taking the time to educate yourself. Being on the early side of this consolidation is really an exciting place to be, and so I welcome the conversation anytime.
That's awesome. That's all so well said. And yeah, and for folks that don't know, we record the sessions, we'll put this on, it'll be on social, on our YouTube, so that people can kind of listen back. And it's not every day that we get to kind of have someone who's leading a platform like this. I think it's really cool because we'll talk to, folks in the industry, providers, we've spoken with some brokers, but I think it's really cool to kind of get your insight because there's like what some will say is like this private equity invasion, right, into medical aesthetics and med spas. And we've been in dentistry for a long time and veterinary medicine. And we've been dealing with, kind of larger PE-backed groups and MSOs. And now folks are pivoting and looking at, med spa. And I think there's a lot of fear and like misunderstanding of like, what is PE and like, what does this mean for my business? So,
Absolutely right. It's uncharted territory to a certain degree, right? That we're on the front side of this, which, as I mentioned earlier, it's a very exciting place to be, but there's so much that owners don't know. There's a ton of hearsay. There's a lot of parties involved in the category right now that have a perspective or a position. Speaking to the platforms directly themselves is the best way to get the really kind of single source of truth as far as what they can offer you.
Right, right. I think that's absolutely right. And I do think I will say the clients we've had that have partnered with Well Labs have been, so singing your praises, which is really refreshing for us, right? Because they ask us, "What's your opinion?" And not all groups are created equal, right? Just like all attorneys and law firms are.
Right.
But the folks we've worked with who have partnered, and now they have some runway and they've been with you for a bit, like they're pumped. So it's cool to be able to tell that story to others.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Justin, we were just at AmSpa. We were an exhibitor. Our CEO, Ritu Gupta, was on the M&A panel on Saturday morning. But we also had two of our owners join us for the duration of the meeting. They were at the booth. They ran a couple sessions themselves. And it was really exciting to watch owners come up to the table and get to meet our owners.
Right, right.
That peer representation of, hey, here was what I was looking for. Here's what I got from it. And here is what my experience has been 6-9 months after the fact. You can't beat that. So that was a really, really exciting time for us to watch that kind of magic unfold. And frankly, I come from the medical industry for 20 years. Nothing beats a peer sell, right? Nothing beats that peer-to-peer kind of perspective. So it certainly is an exciting time to be able to have some owners on our team who can kind of, speak about their journey with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So that being said, what do you think makes a good partnership? What makes a good partner? What makes you attracted to a certain, owner and spa? Like what is it that you look for?
Yeah, as far as what we look for, I mean, I can answer kind of globally as far as kind of from an industry standpoint, and then I'll kind of focus in for Well Labs. It's a good place to start, and it's probably one of the earliest questions we have in our conversations. We have parameters, right, and things that we look at from a financial perspective. It's revenue, your top line revenue, profitability, those are definitely a factor. Services mix is something we're interested in, and staff, your staff mix, who makes up your team, who's generating your revenue, all of those things we look for. I will say for owners listening to this, my recommendation would be that groups all have their independent benchmarks that they have that qualify a clinic or an owner's clinic to be a good candidate. So certainly ask that earlier in your conversation to see if you fit what those parameters are. Well Labs, we have our own from a financial perspective, but each group varies. So ask that. Make sure that based on some of the early kind of financial metrics, you fit that. It'll save you time and make sure you know that you are a potential partner for them. So sometimes owners can be guarded about sharing their financial information. I understand that. But being a little bit more upfront about that earlier will help you understand if you fit some of their baseline requirements.
Right.
Kind of dialing in for Well Labs, we're highly focused on the collective picture of what the owners built. So we are very energized by things that pertain to your overall offering. What does your team look like? Love to see the team on the website. Where is your location? What kind of geographic location are you? Are you in an area we're actively searching or looking in? What kind of clinic do you have? A storefront versus a medical office building? Your ratings and reviews. What are your clients saying about you? Those things come into play for us in a big way. Primary areas for us, I would say two areas are: one, a strong ownership profile. And what I mean by that, the owner has built something that they really cherish and have poured their soul into. That's
Sure.
big for us. We are trying to build something different than what owners expect from just a pure financial partner. So this is personal to us in a similar way. So finding owners who do share that kind of vision and commitment and sentiment is impactful for us. For us, it's typically a very strong indicator that we are aligned in our values. I would say another big area for us is team.
Hmm.
I love to hear owners gush about their teams. It's my favorite part of the call, I have to be honest with you, because when owners feel so strongly about their team, and you can see it on their face. I mean, so many Medspa owners, the way that they gush about their team. They prioritize their well-being, their employment agreements, all those things.
Right.
Typically, when you find an owner like that, their team feels the same way. And to us, that demonstrates commitment, a reciprocity, have you, of that commitment to each other. I will say sometimes it can be hard to gauge that early. Owners, rightfully so, typically, date potential partners without
Sure.
involving their team. Generally speaking, I think that's the wise route to take. But we can learn a lot from owners about their team, and for us, it's a really important part of that.
That's excellent. And you're so right. Like you can sense it probably, like when you deal with people, if they're excited about it. I mean, I know, I used to have the DSO, right? I had a number of dental practices and I would always I probably do it now with our law firm. Like I like to hype up our people because they make this whole thing, right? Like my name's on the door, which is annoying, but like they make the team. Like it should be everybody, it's much bigger than that one individual.
It's true. And our, corporate organization works the same way. Our executive team, everybody at our corporate offices, it is all hands on deck, right? No one person on our team makes this magic happen day in and day out. And we realize and recognize that about these clinics too. So believe me, we read their reviews. We see people talking about how great Tanya is or how much they love seeing Joanne's face behind the desk. Like that speaks volumes for us because it demonstrates what a great service they're offering their local clientele.
It's awesome. I
Yeah.
love it. So what what is a good time then, for an owner to start thinking about, a partnership? Is there like a certain, in their kind of time frame of opening and, selling, like when should they be thinking? It's kind of a loaded question, of course, too, because I preach this a lot to folks, but like when do you view like a good time being for an owner to start thinking about this?
Look, we run the gamut. So many owners I talked to are like, I never even knew sale or partnership was anywhere a part of my future. And then,
Right.
I talked to two owners yesterday who say, this is why I started this business. My goal is sale. So every ownership profile is a little bit different. I have to quote our CEO and founder, Ritu Gupta, though. She has this hysterical analogy for this question, which, albeit goofy, is spot on. Sorry, Ritu, didn't mean to call you goofy, but exploring your partnership, she says, is kind of like ordering takeout food. You can't wait until you're starving because it's going to take 45 minutes to an hour.
Hmm.
Start when you are not so starving. So what does that mean for owners? I know it's crazy, but she's not wrong. It's
No,
true.
she's not. She's not.
So our recommendation is first of all, if you're in a position where you're considering this because you're trying to plan an exit. Everybody talks about exit strategy, but I'm here to tell you that's not our primary source of partnership right now, and I'll get to that
No.
in a moment. But start when you have time left to give. You as an owner, owners are so valuable to the continued success of these businesses. So don't wait until you're ready to leave. Owners have intrinsic and inherent value to these clinics. And I will tell you, I talk to owners who say, you don't need me. My practice manager keeps the lights on. She knows the password. She knows where the bodies are buried. You don't need me. They do. They
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
you. And being a collaborative partner with us demonstrates that this is a partnership, not just a transaction. So
Yeah.
always plan a couple years in advance. Some platforms have interest in an owner departing immediately. We really do ask for a bit of a runway with time because we want you to kind of to exit, and integrate with the team in a really, really successful way and exit in time. If you're not near retirement, this is a very good time, or considering your exit, this
Right.
is a very good time to be considering a partnership. I'm just going to shoot everybody very, very straight. This industry is growing exponentially. It's getting more and more saturated, which means it's going to get more competitive. I
Right.
think the industry grew by 20% in individual locations last year alone. This having a strong partner now will make clinics more successful in their local markets as time goes on and they continue to grow. I talk to a lot of owners that are sitting at the top of the pile from a local perspective as far as their local branding.
Right.
To be honest with you, maybe their market share won't be immediately affected by new med spas popping up. Maybe their retention will stay steady. But what I can tell you is even that noise will start to have its effect on a business over time.
Right.
Having a strong partner who can continue to keep you ahead of the curve from a competitive standpoint is going to make you untouchable and help you to perpetuate the growth.
Right.
The last thing I'll say about that is for many platforms, there's optionality in things like rollover equity or equity component. Considering we're on the front side of this consolidation, the return on that for owners, it offers a really exciting second or third bite at the apple in a couple of years, depending on what platform you join. So it's not necessarily, we hear so much about exit strategy, exit strategy. For us, most of our owners, Justin, I'll be honest with you, they did not partner with us because they're exiting. They're
Right.
partnering with us because, frankly, the biggest motivator for our owners was I'd really love a good partner because I think I've taken it as far as I can / want to with what the resources I have, but I have so much runway left and I want to do it with you.
Yeah.
And then they understand the components of rollover equity and the value that that will provide them. So there's a lot of talk about exit strategy, but the fact of the matter, at least for Well Labs, we're primarily working with, middle-aged owners, younger owners who are just like, look, I just don't want to do this by myself anymore. I want the
Right.
community. I want the network. I want to build something big. So there's varying degrees of when it should be considered, but certainly if you have a timeline, like I said, don't wait until you're starving to order that takeout. Do it with
I
some
love
time in advance.
I love it. I love it.
I know it's such a funny analogy, but every time she says it, it just hits and people go, oh my God, that's so true. So
Well,
it
it
helps.
it is funny also because the clients, I mean, we've had a handful of clients now who have partnered with Well Labs,
Yeah.
and they're all in like the demographic you're talking about. None of them
Yeah.
are like, I got to get out, everything hurts, I'm gonna go sail off to the sunset and live in Florida. They're like,
Yeah. Hanging
I
up the white coat, I'm done. It's not the case. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really cool to see that.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you, this could be a little bit of a loaded question, but
Yeah.
how do you value, you don't have to give us numbers, right? But like when you look at a business, I mean, you talked about the staff,
Mhm.
there's these elements, there's tangibles, there's intangibles. Like how does evaluation, because there's a lot of questions about like and confusion about like valuation. So how does one value a business or a med spa?
Yeah, I think, this is a very, very common question. For us, it's not so cut and dry, but financials, yes, they matter. We
Sure.
want to properly be able to understand the fulsome business that you've built. We want to present a valuation to you that's founded, right? And comes with good intelligence and understanding of what your financial status looks like and the type of business you've created. The good news for owners that work with Well Labs is we have a team that can work directly with you to pull some of this information alongside of you and support you. So we do make it very easy for owners. It can seem a little daunting at first, but we have a really cohesive team that sits out of our corporate office, and they can help support our owners. We've done this time and time again and kind of lighten that load. So we do need to take a look, and that's typically your P&Ls, kind of we have a practice census we ask them to fill out. That helps us understand their team, services mix, your EMR reports. We can help you pull those. Those are the types of things that we use to really understand how the business is performing. But we're just not simply a financial buyer. So we do look at the combination of both the qualitative and the quantitative components. Like I mentioned earlier, your team, your service mix, your growth profile is really important to us. What kind of stage in your story, your growth story are you? And does it look like you've created the type of brand that aligns with what we're trying to build? But we do take a holistic and comprehensive approach. For us, we're not traditional private equity. So are there spreadsheets involved? Sure, but that is not the mainstay of our approach. We want to come on site. We want to meet you. Yes, discretion is the utmost of importance to us. So we can do that after hours. We can plan something. But we want to see the space. We want to talk to you. And we want to give you that opportunity, because for us, alignment is crucial to making sure, especially if you're somebody who wants to stay involved in the business, that this is a partnership that's going to work for you. So after we get down and we meet you face to face, only then do we feel like we can offer a competitive and fair deal construct. So what I'll say is, yes, is it a combination of your EBITDA and there's a valuation kind of construct involved there? Absolutely. The good news for owners right now, and this is something that I know you've sat on a lot of these panels. I'm sure you're hearing the same thing. We just had our 3rd year at AmSpa. We hear this time and time again. We work with some of the most active brokers in the med spa space right now. This market is efficient. And what that means for owners is that all of these groups that have really gotten a good start and have some experience behind them, we're really taking a very similar approach to valuations and multiples. So for an owner, if you're talking to a couple of groups, your valuations, albeit the construct might be a little different depending on the group, your valuations are going to be relatively in line across the board. So it really comes down to finding the group that you think is going to be the right partner for you.
Yeah, I think there's so much to say there. And you talked about, the fact that it's early in the game. And so, for people who don't, like, when you hear a second bite at the apple, a third bite at the apple, that, that truly means like you're exiting slash partnering, really not exiting fully. So it's, take that with a grain of salt, but you're partnering with Rebecca's team or Well Labs or whomever. It's great. You experience kind of, a sale to some extent, and then now you're part of this bigger thing. And hopefully within 5 years, it kind of happens again and again. And so really that's where people can, see generational wealth. Not to mention offload all of those managerial duties they probably don't want to deal with, So I think there's, that's really important to state. So how can, I get, like, let me think, let me back up a bit. Are there services that you really emphasize, like, do you want to see people doing your kind of core injectables, lasers? There's so much movement right now in wellness and GLP-1s, and it's like crazy. Whenever we do a webinar on GLP-1s, it's like 100 people are online. So, are you looking at those to a lesser extent and just more focused kind of on your, your bread and butter procedures?
Yeah. For us, we look at, and any good med spa owner that I've met and we've worked with or partnered with looks at this the same way. All of these services have value to the practice in their own ways, and we look at them and how they function in conjunction with each other. So we know that injectables like Botox, that's great visit frequency. They come every 3 months. As compared to a filler, it's a lower ticket price. So it's something typically every quarter, your typical client can manage. They plan for it. They know it's coming. They know exactly how many units they get and what molecule they prefer and what tox they like. But then you do have, say, the less frequent lip filler, but that comes at a higher ticket price, right? So there's more value there, but you see them less often. So those two, the way they work together, it just offers a lot of flexibility in how you keep the clientele kind of coming back and how
Mhm.
they kind of complement each other. The industry is certainly loving the marges on the popularity of the GLP-1s. But yes, it's no secret now that services mix is definitely a higher risk profile. So
Yeah. Yep.
with that said, we understand that everybody, it's all the rage. People are talking about it. They have questions. If our clinics aren't offering it, we don't want to lose them to another clinic that may be.
Sure.
So we are looking for a measured balance of what we call the core four. And then, yes, some weight loss and wellness component is something that we want to include in a measured way so that we have a holistic offering to our clientele.
Okay.
And
And
that would be the recommendation that we make to owners all the time. There are certainly some kind of, the next big thing, the shiny thing in the room that comes along.
yeah.
Be more prudent with maybe throwing all of your eggs in that basket because we do know that some of the core four services, there's longevity there, lower risk as far as a shift in the market or procurement. So that's kind of just it's the path we're taking, but it's the recommendation we give owners too.
Yeah. Yeah. And likewise, I mean, we're certainly realizing, I mean, a lot of our clients did fantastic last year with adding, some of these procedures in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, shifts in legislation can I mean, some of them have been really damaged by putting so much of their eggs in that basket. So I agree, I try to, when advising, just to remind them, like, let's keep a balance, and we're not financial advisors, but like, let's at least try to remember the core
Balanced approach.
procedures.
Yeah, but you're also, Justin, I think that's something that is to be said about kind of the role you play is your group is so active right now in the med spa category. Very few firms can say that. So you are speaking to a lot of groups. You're working with a lot of owners, but also platforms like Well Labs. So you've kind of had your ear to the ground and you know what people are looking for. So, I think that lends a lot of credibility to your activeness in the space right now and being able to kind of make those recommendations and offer counsel there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we're seeing all of it. And so, okay, so let's say, you've agreed to the partnership, they've agreed to the partnership. Everyone feels good about it. You've closed the transaction. What does life look like for that owner post-transaction? Because this is a big fear point, right, for people. They're like, I got to go work for somebody. I've had my own thing, and they don't understand maybe what life looks like. So what can you paint that picture for us?
Yeah, I can. Look, lots to fear. I spoke to one of our owners today and we're getting close to the end and she has like the nervous jitters, right? It's so normal. Look, we get it. We're looking for owners who've built something they're incredibly passionate about. So it's reasonable to say, okay, now what? What happens afterwards? And frankly, when we do get on site and meet their teams, it's typically the number one question we get. What's going to change?
Right.
You'd,
Right.
you'd be surprised. Med spa owners won't be, but you'd be surprised that the things that they think about, like their uniforms or how they take lunch or the way they organize their schedules, those things are important to them. These are so many of these small nuances, they may seem small to us, are the reasons why they're so happy where they work. So we get the cause for fear, but we always tell our owners, look, we are specifically, at least for Well Labs, specifically looking for a very specific type of clinic and owner and team.
Mhm.
Our goal is to partner with owners who've built a team and a clientele that trusts them. So they've built something really special there. So, and because we come from the space and because we're operators, we know how important it is to keep so much of that intact. So while it will vary from partner to partner, what
Mhm.
I always say to owners is you should come to expect just support and community. It's what we strive to offer from day one. To be honest, from day one, we don't really plan to change much that you can see or feel. We don't want to cause ripple for the clients, for the offering, for the team, we want things to happen in a really kind of slow and prudent way. In a lot of cases, we don't really have much to change.
Right,
Right?
right.
We're really just kind of supplementing a lot of things that the owner's already been doing, perhaps removing that from their plate, centralizing some of it. But every practice is different. We have some practice who say, hey, we really still want to own our marketing. Own your marketing. How can we help you? Can we supplement in any way? And some practices say we need serious help with marketing. Let's help you there. We can
Okay.
step in a certain capacity.
Yeah,
So we really do value, for Well Labs, we do value what they've already built, their workflows, even some of the SOPs that they've had. We don't want to initially kind of rip this Band-Aid off and plug in our terms and our protocols. We want to help to continue to develop it, not necessarily change it. So there's a lot here for us to unpack when it comes to staff and owner. But the headline for us is we loved this business enough to pursue a partnership with you. We
right.
trust everything you've done to get it here, as much experience as our team has. We also recognize you built this thing locally. So with our shared experience, and by shared, I mean through our team and our owners, we feel that collaboration and continuity of what they have in place will help ensure a smooth partnership. So we pride ourselves on, no ripping Band-Aids, no slicing and dicing on the name on the door. We want this to be an easy and smooth transition for everybody involved. And oftentimes that's for the team and the client.
Yeah, it's really cool for us because we do so many of these transactions, with different groups, and again, not even just limited to medical aesthetics, med spas. Um, and sometimes, here and there, we hear from a client who's, not thrilled with things that happen after a transaction. And I can truly say that I don't forget how many, I don't know if we're in single digits, I guess, but a number of groups we've worked or clients that have gone to your group, like every one of them, the number one thing I heard was not much is like nothing's changed. Like my people are here, like you said, the name's on the door, and it's like the most reassuring thing for us because we're advising them, we do this deal, we get a really intimate relationship, and then it's like, all right, you're off and running now. And so with some of the folks that have worked with Well Labs, like to hear them be like, it's great, like I have support and I don't have to worry about this anymore, but like truly, like our vibe is the same. It's like the greatest feeling, as an advisor that you could kind of have.
Yeah, look, we recommend, I mean, people probably think we're crazy, but by Ritu, our CEO, and myself, we say to owners, look, take the call,
Yeah.
talk to different groups, see what is out there, because at the end of the day, the recommendation I make for good partnership is alignment, 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 fit, fit, fit.
Yep.
Who fits what with your type of, approach, your vision, your values. We talk to a lot of owners who say this is about fit and not price, but it's really hard when you have money in front of you to then start to balance all of that together. So my recommendation always there about finding that good partnership is make sure that you prioritize the areas that are most important for you and lean into whatever platform you're talking to about these certain areas. If
Hmm.
your focus is your team, lean in. Ask them, hey, what are the employment agreements going to look like for them? This is the policy I have in place now. How does yours, differ from that? Or what can I tell them you're going to be able to offer them? Perhaps it's clinical autonomy. That's a big thing for our clinics. Know their stance on that, because
Yep.
that
Yep.
will affect what it looks like after the fact. These are the types of things that you don't want to leave to chance. The other thing, and unfortunately, Justin, I do know owners who have chosen someone else other than Well Labs. I
Mhm.
keep in touch with these owners. I have to be honest with you. I just love to network in this space. I've spoken to a few of them who did not have a great experience.
Yep.
And, the one thing I can say for owners is obviously find a fit, find alignment, make sure it feels right and that you lean in on these areas of importance for you. But also, if you're planning on being involved and sticking around, vet that this potential partner has operating experience.
Right.
Make them show you and demonstrate that they have proven success in this space. make this a priority for yourself. Listen, unless you're kind of the test kitchen or the dummy for their first location or two, which listen, we had our own and they were strong partners of ours and we learned together. Say to them, hey, demonstrate your success for me so I know what me and my team can expect on the other side.
Right. Right.
That's
Absolutely.
one way to ensure what happens on the other side, Justin. And you and I have
Right.
spoken to owners where this did not go the way they planned. And there, in hindsight is 2020. We know
Yep.
that. But there are some recommendations and things that industry, experts like you and I can certainly make. And I hope that owners take that into consideration.
Absolutely. So, I don't want to pepper you all night with questions, but I feel
All
like
good.
I feel like we could chat forever. But the last thing I do want to ask you,
Yeah.
is what do you think owners can do to prepare for a transaction, or for a partnership?
So there's a number of ways owners can prepare. First, I'll start with saying there's a few different ways owners can, I'll say, make their business more attractive or maybe covet more value later on. Obviously, growth is a big one. I mean, that's an easy answer. Everybody's looking to achieve growth. But what I always like to tell owners is it's easy to say, I'm going to keep growing and then I'll sell the business later. One of the things that really is most attractive from a valuation perspective is a growing business.
Yeah.
So it's easy to say, I want to keep growing and growing because I know that will contribute to my valuation. Seeing a business perform in the moment will certainly increase its value. So keep driving growth, but don't wait until you're at the end of that. If you wait too long, the business, I've seen it, they plateau, it softens. And when we spoke to them 6 months ago, they were in double-digit growth mode. And now, whether it's the economy or services mix, maybe things have changed. You want to sell and have these conversations while you're in growth mode. So I get it. You want to get the best, covet the highest valuation, but really demonstrate that you're a growing business and you will covet a higher valuation. I will also say I love making this one because I think that owners need to hear this. Diversify revenue across multiple providers. It's
Mhm.
so easy for owners to start these businesses. Listen, it's like a bottle of Botox and a dream. They started, in a suite or hosting parties. I've heard it. It's
Right.
incredible the stories they have. They've built amazing businesses. But all of a sudden, one day you wake up and you're 80% of the revenue. Start to diversify that sooner rather than later. So hire another injector or two. Find a mid-level who maybe is working in a medical capacity and wants to take on an extra day or two. Diversifying the revenue across multiple providers will certainly make you more attractive. And then, of course, we talked about it earlier, but diversifying services is helpful as well. I think as far as preparing and coming to the table to really start to think about that,
Mhm.
work with your accountant to say, hey, listen, this is something I'm considering. Walk me through kind of the state of my financials. Where are my P&Ls? How can I pull them down? But also really start to work with just understanding, all of the things that pertain maybe to the success of your business. How have you achieved some of this growth? Take a look at some of your reports, come to the table being able to tell your story. If not, that's okay, but it's helpful for us to understand what the plan has been and what you've achieved. The other thing we always recommend to owners, we get a lot of questions about, do I need a broker? Do I not need a broker? When you're working with Well Labs Plus, you don't necessarily need a broker. It does come at a fee. We work with some incredible brokers in this space. Some owners choose this path and it's helpful for them. We've seen owners do it well both ways. Our team can
Right.
help owners and walk them through the process at no cost. What I will say, no plug for, no intended plug here for MLG, but we do implore owners to find legal representation who understands transactions specifically in healthcare, if possible, in our space. We all have a lawyer, a family lawyer, a business lawyer we've worked with, but they may not be active in the transactions component of this.
Right. Right.
Having somebody who's navigated through this, understands the components of these offers, the purchase agreement, the diligence process, will make you just it will help you through this process and expedite your process. I've seen lawyers who do not have experience in transactions, in healthcare transactions, slow down this process. Nobody wants that. So it is an area that we make a strong recommendation to find legal representation who understands the space.
Yeah, and you're welcome to plug us. That is okay.
I do. Look at, there's some really great, healthcare firms right now that are doing a great job. They just understand what the deal constructs look like. They understand the terms of our agreements.
Yeah.
They understand what these platforms are looking for and what leeway the owners have too to still get the deal done.
Mhm.
We all know a great lawyer, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're the best fit for your partnership.
Yeah.
And then look, my last recommendation is come to the table. Take calls. Don't wait until you have everything buttoned up, because you're going to learn a lot by talking directly to us, these platforms. There's a lot of people in the space right now who know a lot about the consolidation that's happening in this space. Nobody knows it better than the platforms themselves. We can tell you what's actively happening, what we're seeing, and where things are, how things are occurring and what timeline. And so take a call with us. It's really low risk. You get to meet some of the platforms out there, get to know them, and you're going to get a lot of good information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, I could ask you stuff. We work with plenty of sellers. We also work buy side sometimes, but it's so cool to get your insight. So, particularly,
Happy to.
yeah, it's really fascinating. And so, all right. So if folks want to follow up with you, want to learn more about Well Labs Plus, Ritu, they want to really get understanding, where should they go? How should they find you?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm not too hard to find, so that's the good news. I know that the firm, your group, is going to follow up for all the attendees with my contact information and where to find us. Please visit us at welllabsplus.com. You can get more perspective on our vision, our approach, what we're building, what we can offer owners, and also you can contact us there. But you can find me on LinkedIn, Rebecca Axtell. You can find us on Instagram and social. And look, I'm happy to connect, just to make, the connection with any owner. So if it's now 6 months or 6 years from now, you think that that's something that, your timeline, just connect now. It's a good time to be having the conversation.
Yeah, this is such an incredible time in the industry. So
It is. It's so exciting. It's so exciting. So
Rebecca is truly everywhere.
yeah, everywhere.
Which
I
is
talk
so
to a lot of
cool.
people.
We've had a really good, like, a good time working with you in relationships. So, we'll make your lawyers work a little bit, but they make us work too. So I think
You.
we'll keep it all positive. Thank you
Absolutely.
again for the time. I know,
Yes,
everyone's got kids running around and bedtimes and all these things, but thank you so much for spending the time. And again,
absolutely.
if people want to get a hold of Rebecca, learn more about Well Labs, like she said, we'll get the information posted, and we'll be putting this, on social and YouTube and everything. We'll have all the links you could imagine. Rebecca, thank you so much, and
Thank
it's
you.
been fun.
Yeah, it was great. Always a pleasure chatting with you, but thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Okay, take care, everybody.